Have you ever wondered when things stopped being simple? I don't remember who I traded with, but sometime in 1980, I swapped a few cards for this 1966 Topps Sandy Koufax. I didn't know about condition or scarcity, or what made one copy more valuable than another. I just knew it was a Koufax, and it was mine. Back then, collecting felt simpler. But over time, the hobby shifted. First came the price guide, then the top loader, then the slab, along with pop reports, registry sets, graders as gatekeepers, and grown men on YouTube explaining which cards were investment worthy. And suddenly, we weren't collecting cards anymore, we were collecting grades. In this video, I explore the reasons we grade and how that simple act has changed the way we collect. When I was a kid, I never questioned whether a card was real. I held it, I studied it, I memorized the stats on the back. I trusted what my eyes saw, what my fingers felt, what my nose smelled. If a card had wear, it meant it had lived. Every crease told a story, and you believed the story. But trust is fragile, and somewhere between pack-fresh innocence and dealer tables under fluorescent lights, we lost it. Trimmed edges, forged autographs, reprints just good enough to seem real. I remember holding a Roger Maris card at a show in the mid-'80s that didn't feel right. Something about it was off. Not obviously, just not right. That was the first time I doubted a card. And worse, it was the first time I doubted the hobby. That doubt, that need to know for sure, gave rise to grading. It offered protection from being scammed. The slab wasn't just a plastic case. It was a verdict. This is real. And then something happened. The verdict became the value. Same player, same cardboard, but now it came with paperwork. Someone else had said it was real, and that made all the difference. And I get it. When you're spending real money, chasing big cards, that kind of reassurance is hard to walk away from. But it comes at a cost. We now have a tendency to look at the slab first, the grade, the label. The card becomes background, an accessory to someone else's opinion. But we all know the experts get it wrong. The worst parts of the hobby have fooled even the best graders. So maybe the fear isn't just about being scammed. Maybe it's about how quickly we let go of what we used to know with our own senses. Or perhaps it's about how easily we traded wonder for certainty. At first, it was all about the joy. Opening a pack, the smell of gum, pulling a player I liked, maybe one I'd seen on TV the night before. But just like the need for authentication, things slowly shifted. A friend mentioned Beckett. Another said, "That card's worth $5. And suddenly, the cards weren't just memories, they were assets. Pieces of paper that now came with a price tag. I remember the first time I tracked a card's value obsessively. It was this Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. rookie, a true icon in the hobby. I wasn't thinking about his swing or his smile or how young he looked. I was thinking about the number next to his name, how much he was worth. Those moments changed something. I looked at my collection differently. Not just who a player was, but whether his card was a smart investment. And grading plays right into that mindset, with its own investment language. We started saying things like return on investment, pop report, comps. It all sounds so grown up. But it made collecting feel more like a stock portfolio than a shoebox full of wonder. And here's the thing. Money isn't the villain, it just tends to get in the way. Once a card becomes an investment, you treat it differently. You don't instinctively flip it over to read the cartoon. You certainly don't pin it to your wall. You protect it, you manage it, you monitor it. But you don't love it. At least I couldn't. For me, that kind of attention is careful, but it's not joyful. And collecting at its best is full of joy. So now when I think about that Griffey rookie, I try not to picture the Beckett listing. I try to remember what it felt like the first time I pulled it. The weight of possibility. The future wrapped in foil. Because that's the kind of value I still believe in. There's something beautiful about wanting to protect what matters. A favorite card, like a memory, feels fragile. You want to shield it from the elements, from wear, from fading, from time. And when grading came along, it gave us a way to do just that. Plastic slabs became time capsules, tiny vaults that promised, nothing will happen to this. And let's be honest, it's comforting, especially when the rest of life feels like it's always moving, always changing. A graded card feels still, preserved, safe. But there's a fine line between protecting something and removing it from your life altogether. I used to rubber band my cards and carry them in my lunchbox along with a bag of marbles and a daily inspiration note from my mom. Dale Murphy, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson, George Brett, they all bore the scars of my daily adventures. I saw them every day, little cardboard companions, part of my routine, part of me. Now, some of those same players sit behind hard plastic, labeled, numbered, set aside. And sure, they'll last longer that way. But can I love them the same? Because preservation isn't just about keeping something safe. It's about keeping it close. And sometimes, when we protect a card too well, we stop living with it. We stop holding it, flipping it over, running our fingers across the stats from a forgotten season. We don't lose the card, just the connection. And collecting for me has always been about that connection. Not perfection, not permanence, but presence. Because in my favorite cards, I see fingerprints, my own, still there, still mine. This is the one that says the most about us. The slab isn't just about condition or value or preservation. It's about identity. The way we grade, the cards we choose to grade, the labels we swear by, they all become little mirrors of who we are as collectors. Some people are PSA diehards. Others believe in the tuxedo of SGC. Some chase the subgrades on a Beckett. It's not just about accuracy, it's about allegiance, preference, and personality. We join registry sets, build digital showcases, post videos of slabbed, well-centered cards. And sure, it looks beautiful, uniform, grown up. But sometimes, when I scroll through my own graded cards, I can't help but feel like I'm looking at someone else's collection. Everything seems so sterile. The grade, the trademark, the font, the glossy reflection under the light. And none of it feels like me. When I was a kid, my collection represented me. The accumulator, the set builder, the player collector, colorful and passionate. Hank Aaron's, Roberto Clemente's, thumbed edges, rubber band marks, stacks that only made sense to me. And that was the point. It wasn't about impressing anyone, it was about expression. Now, sometimes it feels like I've traded that in for the approval of a label, for a 10 that says more about status than meaning. And maybe that's the hardest part of all of this. We don't just grade the card, we grade ourselves. So these days, I collect differently. Slower, more honestly. I still love a great looking card, but I'm less interested in blending in and more interested in being real. Because that creased Sandy Koufax I traded for in 1980, it's still a meaningful part of my collection. It's not graded, it's loved. It's real, and it's priceless. When I hold it, I remember exactly who I was, and that's the kind of collector I want to be. You know, when you're a kid, you think the things you love will stay the same forever. That first pack, that huge trade, that binder you filled one rainy Saturday afternoon. You think that magic lasts, but it doesn't. Not always, not exactly. One day, you're talking about pop counts instead of players. You're looking past stats and staring at a label with a grade. And maybe that's just how life works. We grow up, the world sharpens, corners matter. But every so often, you hold a card that takes you back to a time when none of it mattered. Not the grade, not the label, just the player, the summer, the memory. And for a brief, beautiful moment, it's simple again. So thanks for stopping by. And remember, keep fueling the friendships.